Obviously, as always, bro, it's sick to have you.
I'm sick
And
here, bro.
the last time I spoke to you was about 6 months ago. And a lot has happened since then for you, man. How have you been since we last spoke? So this was what, 6 months ago?
Good, mate. Like roller coaster, innit? Like sometimes busy, sometimes not busy. Just a weird year all round. Like week by week, everything changes. So there's no consistency, but can't complain. Is what it is.
Callum asks, when are you making more music videos?
Well, ASAP. Like I mean, um, I'll be doing some more in kind of like just freestyle videos. But in terms of big budget music videos, I've got about 6 songs lined up that I'm going to do music videos for. But making it happen like in tier 4 when we're just about to go into lockdown is going to be a bit difficult. But I mean, I've got a track with Kamikaze
Sick.
in January. It was going to be January, but that's gone tits up now because, like I said to you, I've got to be a little bit careful. Um, but yeah, hopefully we link up for a video for that. That's a banger. Um, there's a drill track I'm going to do a music video for. So as soon as possible, really, as soon as possible.
Jack asks, next tape, question mark.
Next tape. Thing is, I've got a tape there, but I kind of want to build it into an album. I kind of want to build it into like I've got a whole concept of an album like ready to go in terms of what I want to do next. But there'll I reckon probably most likely there'll be like a mini EP, 6-track EP, early. It was going to be this month, but early 2021, and then just before summer 2021, like a 15-track album, I reckon.
B. Groutage asks, who are your UK inspirations at the moment?
I'm absolutely 100% convinced Dave is about to drop probably the best UK album, arguably ever. So Dave, I like how he moves in silence. I like how he keeps himself to himself and remains himself whilst remaining insanely talented. I mean, I love UK music, bare, but I wouldn't say I have like I don't sit here with bare inspirations now. Like I have people who I love their music, but I mean, I don't have idols or.
B. Greasy asks, how do you find your rap voice slash rap style?
Don't know. You just rap like I don't know. You
Talking a
just
mic,
write and
man.
then yeah, exactly. Well, to be fair, my voice has changed rapping. Like if you listen to Unique, was the first thing I ever released compared to now, it's different. But that's just practice. Just rap, and that is your rap voice, and then you just practice, and become second nature. I didn't go on a journey to find my rap voice. I just started.
Jack Turner says, just tell him he's the GOAT. So you're the GOAT, man, from Jack Turner and myself. Okay, so Jack Turner also says, he's got a lot to say for himself. He says, sick
Yeah.
bars with average flows or average bars with sick flows. So like lyrics versus flows.
Well, I'm always going to end up lyrics, but at the same time, like I can appreciate a song for its flows, like drum and bass. For example, if you dissect loads of drum and bass MCs, like you're going to look at the lyrics and you go, "It's probably a little bit questionable," but your flow is absolutely mental. So fuck it.
You have to have a good flow to have sick lyrics in a way.
Yeah, there's got to be a spectrum. If you were sick, if you were spitting incredible lyrics, but they were completely out of time for the whole track, then like then
They're not good lyrics. They're not good lyrics anymore.
if you've got like 140 BPM and you're spitting at 3 BPM, then allow it. But if your flow is but the bars are mental, then I'm probably still going to be a little bit entertained. But I mean, if you had 6 bars and like you're sounding like bird call, then no thanks.
Okay, Stuart Crawford asks, is there any bar that you think people never clocked?
I'll tell you what bar people didn't clock for literally ages and ages and ages. In the first ever black box, there's like a bar. It's like I only smoke the real grass to send me to space. That's 2 ways I'm an astronaut. I thought it was very obvious, but astronaut obviously go to space, and then astronaut, so no astroturf, no fake grass. I only smoke the real grass. That's 2 ways I'm an astronaut. Um, but I mean, I was having a
That is
debate with
some
someone
high
else.
IQ shit, man. Henry Peter Pierce. Henry Peter Pierce.
I'm not sure I can trust a man with 3 first names.
Yeah, and in it sounds like a knight or something.
He's the guy on the back of a tenner.
Alright, the guy on
Sorry,
the
Henry.
back of the tenner, he says, "Would
Yeah.
you say you've blown?"
Me, nah, no, I wouldn't say I've blown. My life hasn't really changed. Like, I was able to quit my job, but I mean, like, I haven't blown. If this is what blowing is, then, like, nah, I definitely haven't blown. I'm sorry for boring your name, by the way, Henry.
No, I apologise, Henry, as well.
Never trust someone with 3 first names, and never trust someone with. If you're in your friendship group, never trust anyone with a unisex name. Honestly, don't do it. The thing I'll leave to the leave to the world is that
What's an example of a unisex name? Like,
I've got a friend called Jordan. Sorry, Jordan, but Jordan, you can't trust a Jordan.
or like Jackie or something.
Just trust me, all right? You can't trust someone with a unisex name.
Joshua Shorten asks, "What are your New Year goals?"
2020, I've just kind of used as a year to get my head straight. So my New Year's resolution isn't to get my head straight or do this or do that, because that's what I've kind of been trying to do 2020. That's what I've been doing to prepare. My only New Year's resolution for 2021 is not music related at all. It's just cook something I've never cooked before every week.
We've got loads, man. We've got loads here. Ollie Max says, "When are you planning on doing a live performance?" And just really quickly, after lockdown's over, I had my residency at Maps where I met you.
Right.
After lockdown's over, we got to get you on, man.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be sick. Live performance. I'm gonna try tour 2021. September onwards, I'm gonna put together something and get round the UK, because I'm so desperate to do it. That's what this year was meant to be, but that got screwed up. And what was the first question? Oh no, I know what I was going to say. And big up Ollie Max, because he got my black box jacket. So big up him.
Jay James says, "How do you deal with writer's block?" That is an interesting one.
With writer's block, just can't force it. If I can't write, I just don't bother. Like, it doesn't last forever. Like, if I sometimes, because I do get writer's block, but I mean, if I just don't write, don't force it. At some point, it's like when we first started talking, we were talking about trigger points and like stimulus that like cause something in your brain, and you just want to write. One of those will happen. So just don't rush it, don't force it, and then you'll know 100%. You'll know when your creativity is flowing.
Have you ever had sustained periods of not having those creative juices flowing? Because I know during lockdown that must be pretty prevalent with people.
I mean, I definitely have sustained periods of like writer's block, and probably sustained periods where I'm not as creative as I want to be. But I've always just found what works for me is just don't force it. Because if you've got writer's block and you're desperately trying to write, you're just going to get frustrated, and then you're fighting a losing battle. But I mean, if you're having that, just chill out. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And like, just me personally speaking, something always clicks. I don't know what it will be, but you'll just hear something, or what usually I'm listening to music or I'm listening to a podcast, and I realize I've completely snapped out of what I'm listening to, and I'm just thinking of bars in my head, and that's when I know, like, oh shit, like, okay. And then I'll go home and start writing, and then I've just found, then you're just kind of back on track. You just kind of need that moment where you're like, oh, like shit, and then it just kind of clicks again. But I mean, I've had months where I can't do anything at a decent level at all, and then I'll write 4 tracks in a day, or not 4 whole tracks, but you know what I mean. Like, then I'll just suddenly, once the ball's rolling, the ball's rolling. But if the ball stops, then sometimes you just got to leave it there for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And in a sense, you sort of have to step back to step forward again.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You just can't put too much pressure on it.
Exactly, and it also is more frustrating to write when you're in those moods, because then you just end up writing something dry.
I used to put too much pressure on myself, but at this point, I've just kind of realised, like, okay, like, this is not a long-term problem. This is a short-term problem. Let me try build up. Let me go do 100 press-ups instead. So I'm still doing something productive. So I still get the fulfillment and the serotonin of doing something, accomplishing something. So it's basically like all I want to do in life is just kind of continue like this, just continue getting. Just that's all I want. As long as kind of day on day, week on week, year on year is an improvement and is progress, I'm happy. So if I've got writer's block now and I'm thinking, shit, I can't write a good song, I can't do this, I can't do that. I don't just stick and think I need to write an amazing song now. I just go kind of get my progress from somewhere else, and then it just falls back, it loops back.
B.VRK says, when you write bars, what helps you get in the zone?
No distraction. If I want to actually write something impactful, if my phone is next to my pen and pad, because sometimes I write on my phone, sometimes I write in physical form. But if I'm writing in physical form, if my phone's there, like everyone's so conditioned to look at their phone, I will be writing, even if what I'm writing is so sick, or like I think it is. I'm next thing you know, I'm just looking at my phone, scrolling through Twitter, and it's just like killing time. And then once you're out of that zone, sometimes it's quite hard to get back in. To get in the zone, you just have to feel it. Like, don't force nothing. It will come.
I love that lyric when you said, if the verse ain't right, then no D for the missus. That actually made me crazy.
If I'm writing about bars like that, it's funny. And then the day after, I'm like, fucking hell, I hope Nan don't listen to that.
The reason why it hits personally for me is because, like, bro, like, I'm so possessive. Like, when I'm in that zone, it's like, if anyone, like, sort of comes in my room or whatever, like, I'll actually, like, feel really pissed off. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what
Yeah.
it's like. When I say I'll tell you what it's like, I'm going to tell you what it's not like, but it makes sense in my head. You know, when you crave something, like food, you're like, fucking hell, I really want a Domino's. Like, I really, really, really want a Domino's. When you then get home and you have shepherd's pie, it's really impossible to fancy a Domino's anymore. That is the worst analogy of all time. But what I mean is when you've got something set in your head, yeah, when you're then taken out of that thing, it's like, it doesn't fit anymore. It's like you're taken out of your stride, you're taken out of your rhythm.
You don't feel satisfied, but then you can't go back.
Exactly. That is the exact point.
That creative process, like, I mean, personally, it drives me a bit nuts sometimes.
When I'm writing a song and I just finished writing the final bar, like, sometimes that is the ultimate sense of like, it's borderline relief, not relief, but just like fulfillment. Like,
Ben Ling asks, what would you have done if you didn't become a rapper?
I've wanted to be loads of things over the years. At one point, I wanted to be a chef. At one point, I wanted to be a comedian. At one point, I did marketing in Bournemouth, but I doubt I would have sat in an office. Maybe something creative, something creative, something that had to stimulate my mind.
Archie Sherwood says, how would you describe your music? That was a hard one, but...
Yeah, that is a hard one. How would I describe my music? Personal. I don't try to make it fit a mold, so it's hard to describe it because it's not really based on a genre. I don't know. I think it varies song to song, really. Personal. I think I'd just go personal.
Yeah, I think personal is definitely the key one there because that's definitely the impression you get. It's very open and honest. Yeah, well, it retains that same authentic voice.
I'm rating the Q&A. I think it's sick.
Yeah, it's good, man. People have got good questions. Tom J. Hall says, if you could make love to an animal, what animal? Shouts to him for such a weird question, but...
Yeah, no, that's a golden retriever.
Golden retriever. What's your personal favourite bar, says Marley D. Cruz?
Maybe in the intro to DreamWorks, the bar is like, how am I supposed to tell my mother with anxiety that I do too without triggering hers? When I wrote that, I knew I was writing something. I knew it was like I knew I was writing. I wasn't just using words. Yeah, that's my favorite bar I've ever written. I don't shoot chubby women. I smoke fat things. Love that bar. Very simple.
You've got to do a bit of work as the listener to sometimes to sort of get it fully, and that's so satisfying. It's like, fuck, how the fuck did you do that, mate? Like, but it's almost involving your listener in in a very different way.
That feeling is why I fell in love with bars. Like when things make sense, when something makes such a nice feeling, satisfying feeling when something makes sense. So it's like trying to work something out and then working it out. It's good for you, good for your brain.
And this is another difficult one, but favorite bar from another rapper.
The problem is with these questions. When you ask me, I'm not going to have any idea, and then just before I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to think of about 12.
Young Boy Tokyo agrees.
Yeah. Trust me, we'll go for that one. We'll go for Greece.
I remember on the last one, right? Someone commented, which I thought was interesting, the impact that weed has had on creativity. Do you think that that's had any kind of effect?
Weed's a funny one because like it changes like I love it, but there's the whole glorification of it in rap music, which every artist is guilty of, or not every artist, but plenty, including myself. It's just inaccurate because bare shit comes with it. There's paranoia that comes with it, but not everyone has it. Half of my friendship group haven't even experienced that side of weed, which I don't understand because I've experienced better of it, and I know people who stopped smoking weed completely because they're just like, this is just not worth it. Why am I feeling this anxious with something I'm meant to be enjoying? The thing that sorted myself out was like, it's not a who can roll the fattest zoot competition. If you want to roll a skimpy small skin zoot and smoke it because it makes you feel better and you don't prang, do that. Like, no, we're not 16, 17 anymore. When you're fucking 16 and it's like, what, you're only smoking half a zoot. It's like, oh, all right, then I'll finish it. Let's do the King L challenge. Let's do this. Let's do that. So that's not what it's about, man. Sometimes it makes me bare creative. Sometimes I do it and I'm in the zone. Sometimes I go outside and I'm lean. And next thing you know, all I've done in the whole session I'm meant to be working is look through Twitter. It was a big part of my teenage years because it was like going out for a fag, wasn't it? It's just social. So, but I mean, it's all about doing what you want to do. I smoke like a third of the zoot at a time, spread it out, and then I don't have any negative. I don't prang. I don't do anything. Don't experience paranoia. It just enables me to get certain creative in different moods and whatnot. But it does make for some good bars. So
Joe Downs says asking for some unique life advice says a lot about a person.
I would just say, just be nice, be kind, put good energy into the world. I would not be in the position I would be in terms of music. I'm not saying I'm in a special position, but I'm in a position where I can use music to benefit my life because people locally want to support my thing because I'm not a dickhead. I'm sure some people would say I'm a dickhead, but when you're nice to people, that's always going to work out in your favor. And if you're nice to someone and they're a dickhead back, yeah, it's annoying, but I mean, you're always going to be on the right side of the fence. These two kind of contradict each other. So when I'm saying be kind and be nice, but also put yourself first, but they also kind of link into one because what was I thinking the other day? I was going to put it in a bar. Oh, self-centered. That was it. Self-centered. The word self-centered is used negatively, as in, oh, that person is bare self-centered. But if you're not self-centered, everything about that says positively to me. Like working on yourself, putting yourself first, caring about yourself, caring about your well-being. Self-centered. Everyone has to be self-centered. And of course, you've got to balance that with doing things for other people, be nice, be kind. But put yourself first, be nice to people, be kind, love yourself. And happiness over everything. Put your happiness over everything.
No, it's interesting what you're saying about that word self-centered. Yeah, it should connote positivity, really, to put yourself in the center.
Self-centered. Yeah, exactly. Self-obsessed. That's different. But self-centered, like that's growth to me.
And it's true about putting positive energy into the world. But I remember being young, like proper young, and then I heard Loyal Kana in his song say, "There's no love until you show some," right? And then I kind of just thought, like, I was having a bit of a shit time. Like, I must have been 14-ish, and it just kind of clicked with me. Like, if you're nice to people, you're kind, you make an effort, then it definitely comes back to you, man. And life is just better.
If today, me, you, anyone watching this, if they message their boy, how are you, bro? How's everything? Or not necessarily your boy, someone you know might be thinking about things differently. Just message something nice. that's going to feel as good for you as it is for the person receiving it. Like, it helps you grow. It helps you. It's just as good for you as it is anyone else. So it's a win-win.
100%. It's like
Mm.
knowing that people were there. You know what I mean? Eddie Honey, what's your favorite song you've done?
My favorite song I've ever done is "From Us to You," but that's a different category of song, really. Like, I don't like that. That's my favorite song I've ever done, probably ever will make.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
not,
yeah.
I don't sit there and listen to it. It just means the most, and probably always will. No More
Yes.
Candles, No More Candles. Love that track. Probably No More Candles. I think the best track that I've made, the track Hard, I think if we'd have done a mad music video for that track, that could have, or that could have done mad. I love all my music for different, like, for different reasons. Depends what mood I'm in. Some songs I think would have been decent in different social settings.
I think it says a lot that your favorite ones tend to be the deeper ones, man.
Musty was that was never even meant to be out there. That song was written for his funeral, so that was written for that, and then it was played, and then we came up with the idea to release it and raise some money. So we did, and then I still get messages all the time from people saying, "Look, this song has helped me in this situation." So that's just like that song means something completely different. That's that's a whole different section. Nothing can top stuff like that. Um, but at the same time, like I said, that song was never meant to, or never written to be heard by anyone other than people that knew it. So the fact that it then was, even if it did incredibly well, it's still kind of in a different section because I didn't write it for that. I love Basic. I listen to Basic quite a lot. When I made Basic, I wasn't even going to put it out. At the start of Basic, it said I'm speaking on like a couple tracks that didn't make the tape, and I wasn't going to put it on there. And then I just came to my senses, and I was like, "Why would this not be on there? This is cold."
And why do you think you weren't going to put it on?
Because when I went to studio, I was in studio and I made like 4 tracks that day. Originally, I thought it was my least favorite, and then it just kind of grew on me, 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 and then I was like, "No, this track is so cold."
And I find it really interesting how, in a similar way, right, the lyrics that I doubt the most, that I'm like, oh, don't write that, that's moist or whatever, are always the best ones.
Well, even so, the warm up session,
That was mad inspiring for me. That in particular.
appreciate that, man. But yeah, the bars that stuck out to people in terms of the ones they were messaging me weren't the ones I thought. One of the lyrics is like, "I'm desperately trying to switch up. My girl don't get it. My girl don't get it. Loves me for me. Don't think I'm in need of a switch up. Tell her do handstand. Everything tits up." Like, I love that little sequence of bars.
Yeah.
I thought it would be stuff like that, but it was a bar that people seem to like, and I was like, well, that was just kind of, I don't know. But yeah, it's all perspective. It's all perspective.
Yeah, people move differently than how you expect.
It's like some bars stick out to me because I know what went into them. But if you're just listening to them, you pick out the ones that mean more to you.
Uh-huh.
So it's all subjective. And
Yeah,
that's
sick.
what I love about music.
Yeah.
That's what I love about right.
Yeah, yeah, because people sort of interpret it how they want, and they make their own connection with it. What's your animal?
See, I love animals. I love animals. There, I think I'd be. I personally, I think I'd be a dog, but like a sick dog, like not like an all cuddly dog, and not like a hunting dog either, but somewhere in the middle, like a proper, like the type of dog that knows how to jump up and open the door. You know what I mean?
That's jokes. Type of dog that could open doors. I like
Breaks into the fridge, that kind of thing.
that. So how have you been?
Yeah,
So obviously we were talking about it before, but the connection was mad. But how has Corona
nuts.
affected your music?
It's affected it in some ways, and in some ways, it's probably the best job to have during this because at the end of the day, it's still in my hands. Like, I can still go outside and record if I wanted to, but at the same time, the lack of consistency and the lack of accessibility to different locations, or we can't do this in person, or I can't go to a studio, or I can't shoot a music video how I want to shoot a music video. It feels like you're kind of trapped and you can't level up. So for a sustained period of time, I thought, yeah, it's calm because I can still, it enabled me to focus. It enabled me to focus and get stuff done. And I've got all the content waiting to go, but I just can't do what I want to do with it. I can't get who I want on it. I can't link up with this person or that person. I'll shoot this, I'll shoot that, or go here or go there. Because I'm stuck in tier 4 looking at 4 walls all day. So it's long.
Yeah.
What about you, bro?
It's exactly the same with me, man. I'm trying to pattern my album, but it makes it a lot harder when, yeah, you can't do what you want. You can't link up with whoever. At the same time, as you say, it is in some ways a really good occupation to have.
Because it's creativity based, like, and when you're forced to be creative, you're stuck in a position where you're forced to be creative. Like, it enabled me, like Lyrics for Sanity, that was written, all recorded, everything in the space of like the first month and a half, 2 months of lockdown. It's frustrating, man. Feels like claustrophobic.
So have you found that being, between 4 walls, what kind of effect has that had on your creativity?
At first, it was brilliant because there was less distractions, but then after a while, it's like sometimes you need distractions and you need life to trigger points in order to write stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've written songs about pretty much. There's no moods left to feel that I haven't written a song about this lockdown, because I've written I need new trigger points. I need new contexts and situations and scenarios. And
Yeah, definitely. And you definitely need a bit of external unpredictability to sort of give you
trigger things.
yeah, because I found the exact same. Like in the last lockdown, I was fucking in my cupboard the whole night, every night, just recording tunes. Now yeah. Just I've got quite a big. It's like Narnia in there, bro. I talked to Mr. Tumnus.
Yeah, trust.
And I remember last time in our last interview, you were talking about how you wanted DreamWorks to encapsulate the highs, the lows, like when you're high, when you're literally high, every
Yeah,
aspect of your personality. That definitely came through, bro.
it's just a roller coaster, isn't it? You think life's going that way, and then it goes that way. And unless I write a diss track for Boris Johnson,
And let's talk about Lyrics for Sanity as well, because that is such a sick project. You can see the progression quite vividly from DreamWorks because it feels more pared down.
yeah, it's like DreamWorks. The thing about DreamWorks is the concept was all about kind of, I'm going to make this happen. This is a start. This is how many styles I can do. Da, 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 da. But in terms of like a concept, like Lyrics for Sanity, more like with DreamWorks, there was 10 tracks on there, and maybe I was choosing between 16, 17 tracks. So it was not that many didn't really make the cut. But for Lyrics for Sanity, it was more like there was 16 new tracks, and I wanted to choose a select little capsule to make it to sound. It was more conceptual. As long as I'll be an artist, like sequencing and things in a tape, listening from start to finish is just it's what I'm about. I contradict myself all the time in music. I'll make a song about feeling this way, and the same day I'll write a song about feeling the opposite. But I'm not chatting shit in either of them. That's just what it's like.
I think the thing about your music, which is very striking, is that it's very, very self-aware.
It's funny you
You
should
know what
say
I
that.
mean?
Like, one thing I've noticed about before, when I'm writing, you don't think you when I'm writing, I only think it's me hearing it because it's just me writing. And then when it drops and I listen to it start to, because when I release something, I'll listen to it start to finish as if I'm listening to something that's released. I suddenly realize that all this personal shit about myself is now out there to the world, and it's a weird feeling. It's like if you said it's self-aware, it's also kind of like some of the shit's bare personal, and then I'm like, right, that's out there now.
How do you find that process of putting it out?
It changes for every release, really. It changes for every song. So like the warm-up session that just came out, like when I was so gassed, it was one take, I was loving it, da, 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 and then you hear it back, and I'm like, oh shit, so like it's like exactly how I was feeling at that specific time. And then when you don't feel like that anymore, I don't know. When you release personal music, like overly personal music, it can feel overwhelming, but it's also, when you get the response, it's as beautiful as it gets. So it's an amazing feeling. I love putting it out there, but sometimes it's like, wow, these people are listening to my brain. Do you know what it is? Like, no one writes. I don't write stuff when I'm just feeling blessed. So if I've had like a really bad day, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or like down about whatnot, and I'm writing it down, and I put it out, people think that that's how you always feel, but it's not. That's just how I felt, which triggered me writing a song. So it's like no one writes the best song of their life when they've just had a decent Tuesday. People listen to you at a high or at a low, but they don't just see you when you're just minding your own business day to day. Quickly, I want to big up, I think it's Vibers Verse, Vibbers Verse, Vibers, the Vibers reaction channel. Sent me a hoodie. It's beautiful, man. Lyrics for Sanity. They're man of the sickest people on YouTube, so big them up.
How did Lyrics for Sanity come about?
Lyrics for Sanity was just a case of when the old creative juices were flowing in the start of lockdown, and I was just out there just writing. Like, unlike DreamWorks, I had DreamWorks before the tape really, or once I had the first track. But for Lyrics for Sanity, I didn't know what I was going to call it for ages. But then when I had tracks like a poem called Spotlight and Fake as the Grass, that's when I was like, okay, Lyrics for Sanity. It just started working. And I started piecing together it as a project rather than just songs, because I knew I wanted to drop something in lockdown, making sure I was being creative, I was active, I was busy. Yeah, it came out. I was happy with it.
It's also got a range, man. It's got a range from deeper stuff.
Some of the tracks are more melody based. So like Kids, that's pretty much that's there's like a 16 in there bars wise, if that. The rest is all vocals. So I wanted to switch it up, because one thing I always wanted to do early in my career is make as many different types of songs as possible. So people aren't. So if I release a track and it's all R&B, people don't go, "What the fuck is he doing?" They go, "Oh, I've seen he's in his R&B bag."
Even though there's sort of different styles, there's something about you where you very much retain your voice in each song. It's still very distinctly you.
It's all about trying shit. Like, even if I can't sing, I guarantee you I'm going to be dropping songs where I'm only singing, just because that I'm not trying to say, look at me, I'm the best singer. I'm trying to say, look at me, I can write a song. I want to get judged on the craftsmanship rather than my falsetto. In 2021, I want to be writing tracks for different people more. One of my boys' cousin, I can't remember whether she won The Voice or was in the final of The Voice or something like that, but she's an incredible singer. I want to start writing tracks for people like that, or people who I think, just anyone that's willing to, like, female vocalists that would work.
It feels like listening to your music that at the beginning there were more multi-syllabic rhymes, and then you go down the timeline, you become less rhymey. Like, both have their advantages, because obviously with the multi-syllabic rhymes, like, that's a whole skill in itself, and you've got a lot of that. But then also with the monosyllabic rhymes, it's almost like you've got it's harder in its own way.
If I was to say I want to be a millionaire, and I said a monopoly trillionaire, something like that, yeah, it rhymes. But if I was to rhyme something that doesn't rhyme perfectly, but the listener is like more impactful, like you say, I try to switch it up. Some tracks, I think, for example, in the warm-up session I just dropped, it literally changes between 16s. Some 16s will be all like 6-syllable rhymes throughout a 16 bar, and then it will change to just rhyming, boring, touring, snoring. And like, I enjoy doing that, because when you can do both, it emphasizes both of them. So if I do bare multi-syllable rhymes, that's what makes a song and an artist in my head, really. People like, or not just someone that can rhyme. I think I'm like Eminem. I used to love Eminem loads. Like his old albums inspired me probably more than anything ever. Like Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, all that kind of shit. But when I listen to his music now, it's like, yeah, okay, you can, like, you're an unbelievable rapper, but I mean, you're doing nothing for me. Like, nothing. No, I don't listen to anything and feel impacted whatsoever. I'd prefer him to just not be incredible at rhyming and actually just have something to say other than, I'm the best, I still sell this much, why does everyone hate me now?
He was like my first inspiration. People were embarrassed to say that as well. Like, a lot of people were like, oh no, I don't know. But yeah, nowadays it's kind of like helicopter propeller with a captain propeller with a captain Marcelo. You know what I mean? Just as I was saying before, I feel like it's like so intricate, man, to move between the multi-syllabic rhymes and the monosyllabic rhymes, or the more simple rhymes like boring and touring, and make it work. That is such an art in itself. I guess you've got to have a balance in it between things that people can grasp quite easily,
Yeah.
and then more sort of complex bits as well. You get me?
Well, when you've got a song with no hook in, and which loads of my songs don't have a hook at all, it's just bars. Like it's so easy to be listening to a song and get a minute and a half in, and then you're 2.5 minutes in, and you're like, oh shit, what have I just been listening to for the last minute? And it's just sound, it's just sound. But when you keep changing little things up, and even just specific catchwords, or like I've started doing a thing when I'm writing, not necessarily in the songs I've put out, but the songs I'm writing in a minute, where I just leave little gaps and then like kind of triple it. So deliberately slow the flow down, and then just the words that follow it, just say them twice as quick. And it's like, it's very simple. And I'm sure there's better artists that do it as well. But little things like that just keep tweaking the listener's mind.
As an artist, it gives me a perspective where I'm aware of the intricacy, the very, very minute intricacy of it. So do you think that it's something more instinctual or something that you more consciously implement?
I don't sit down and think, I've never written like this before, let me try to write like this. I'm sure I will do that, but I haven't done that. But I mean, I'm always trying new things, whether it's consciously or not consciously, just because it's more fun. I enjoy writing, I enjoy rapping, and it's just like, it's just natural to kind of try different things, try different flows, write to different beats. And plus, each beat has different pockets. So sometimes I hear a beat and I'm in pockets that I haven't been before, but that's not a conscious effort. It's just because it's a new type of beat. It's a beat where it allows me to kind of rap differently. I'm so absorbed in my own music, writing, thinking, listening to it. I've stopped appreciating other people's music as much, and I hate it. I hate it because I've always loved music so much. Like I've always been such a huge fan of music, but now I've started becoming so absorbed in myself as an artist. You you're always comparing things or critiquing in your head. It's just like I want to snap out of that and just get back to being a big fan of rap music as well. A lot of my music is like very basically mixed. I've never had a track mastered. Like I just, but that's because it sounds organic and it doesn't sound too polished.
It's interesting that you talk about it not sounding too polished. Could you expand on that?
Well, it's just like pe- people's, well, not, I don't want to say everyone, but some people warm to my music because it just sounds like someone who loves writing and putting music out. And people who aren't huge into polished whatever the current wave of music is, kind of warm to that. They just get to focus on the music. They get to focus on the words. They get to focus on like what music's all about. I think people appreciate like people love an underdog. People love things that aren't perfect.
Thank you so much, man. Really, really appreciate it, and like really interesting to talk to you as well. Like genuinely, really interesting. So yeah, thank you, man.
I enjoy it anytime.